Hi, it's Kim Boon. I saw a ST article that I'll link in the description below for all of you. So the title was Election Spotlight, Will WP Stronghold Aljunied Feel the Sting of Controversies? So I thought, why don't we play a game? If I changed out WP in the article and replaced it with PAP and told it from a PAP perspective, would it still apply? So I guess let's find out. So as the first GRC ever lost by Singapore's ruling party, Aljunied has taken on additional significance at the upcoming general elections. So this constituency has been largely unchanged from the last election. Some parts of Tampines West were moved to Tampines GRC, but with only around 3.9 thousand voters out of over 144,000, that's not exactly going to make a dent. So in this election, we will see the 144,000 over voters in Serangoon, Kaki Bukit, Eunos, Budok Reservoir Pongo, and Paya Lebar casting their votes in a referendum on the controversies in the past 5 years. So in GE2011, PAP lost Aljunied to the WP, with the PAP anchored by then Foreign Affairs Minister Mr. George Yeo. To compound that loss, the team also had Foreign Affairs Senior Minister of State Zainul Abidin. So overall, a big loss for them Foreign Affairs team. So the team was then capped off by current Health Minister Mr. Ong Ye Keng, then Minister Lim Swee Hua, and real estate professional Miss Cynthia Poor, and they lost by securing only over 45% of the votes. Then in GE 2015, the team led by, I think the most recognizable name was Mr. Murali Pillai, did not secure a win again, picking up just around 49% of the votes, despite triggering a recount that dragged way past everyone's bedtime. Then in GE 2020, despite tailwinds from the COVID-19 situation, the PAP team that was apparently a collective team effort swung to an almost 19% loss to the Workers' Party. So this loss puts the PAP in a precarious position. Even without WP veteran Mr. Loh Tak Yang at the helm, the ruling party was not able to take control of Aljunied from the newly minted chief Mr. Pritam Singh, and allowing the opposition party to set up their stronghold in Aljunied. In GE2025, apparently there's rampant chatter of whether PAP can finally take back Aljunied, which will mark the first time that the ruling party has successfully taken back a GRC that they have lost. So I've never asked PAP, but I think they will probably decline a request for interview for this report. I think. So in some ways, PAP goes to the next upcoming election from a position of strength. Since 2024, Mr. Lawrence Wong, Prime Minister of Singapore, has gained brand recognition as the 4G leader of this country. Since then, he has been actively recruiting talent from the civil service, military, current parliament, and private sector to create a greater diversity of views in politics. So during that time, he has led Singapore through the COVID-19 pandemic, and he is currently in the midst of helping Singaporeans fight through cost of living challenges brought about by inflation and likely to be exacerbated by tariffs that has just been freshly minted on Singapore by US President Donald Trump. So meanwhile, the battle of Aljunied is not just any ordinary battle between the PAP and Workers' Party. As the WP stronghold, that contest could be seen as a referendum on both political parties. Thus, any event that impacts the parties have to be closely examined. So the corruption case at Ang Mo Kio Town Council, or AMKTC, saw a conclusion in November 2019. A former general manager, Mr. Wong Chi Meng, was found guilty of receiving $50,000 in bribe from Mr. Chia Shin Lan, who was a director of 2 construction firms. Questions were asked, okay? I don't really know. But I guess the conclusion is low crime does not mean no crime, right? So anyways, there's been chatter on whether PM Wong would leave Marsiling UT to contest in the greater GRC and strengthen his mandate as Prime Minister. But we all saw what happened by then PM in waiting, Mr. Heng Swee Keat, when he went from Tampines to East Coast GRC in 2020. So anyways, given the Workers' Party overt goal of trying to take 1/3 of Parliament seats in the medium term, it would not be surprising for PM Wong to consider a show of commitments to Singaporeans, have some skin in the game. So moderate political commentator Mr. Ng Kian Boon commented that it would be the right thing for PM Wong to leave the comfort and safety of Marsiling UT to earn an authoritative mandate in wake of the events from the past election cycle. Abo, friend of this political commentator, said that this would be a risky move. It would be more prudent for PM Wong to remain at his base. After all, 1 bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush. Indeed, there are other factors that the PAP will need to consider given the controversies it had to deal with over the past few years. So there was a case of two nominated MPs who left their term early, a first in Singapore's history with the NMP scheme. So while there's nothing unbecoming legally or constitutionally, it did have Singaporeans asking whether that is the right thing to do, blurring the lines between independence and the need to serve, and so urgently too. Also, did I mention that the former West Coast GRC MP and ex-transport minister was convicted of 5 charges of obtaining valuable items as a public servant and for obstruction of justice, and he was sentenced to 12 months jail. In addition, PAP lost East Coast MP and former Minister and Speaker of Parliament Mr. Tan Chuan Jin, as well as Tampines GRC MP Ms. Cheng Li Hui when they resigned in 2023 following an extramarital affair. So the former carried on with this illicit relationship even after being counseled by then Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong himself. So a resident who lives beside me, also known as Torberry, said she lost confidence in the party after the departure of an MP. And these scandals could dent the PAP's reputation and have an impact at the ballot box. So moderate political analyst Mr. Ng Kian Boon said that voters could lose confidence in the PAP because their elected members were not able to put country before pleasure. So friend of Mr. Ng Bashi said that there might be some impact for sure because the PAP will not be able to claim bragging rights to being a more responsible party than the WP. Oh, he also added that voters might penalize PAP more because they expect more from the men in white, who often talk about walking the talk, that wearing white means that they must be white. So meanwhile, the PAP slate appears to be unknown. It is not clear to me whether they are adopting a suicide squad a la GE2020 or putting in a more serious team that could win for GE2025. So in fact, I actually spoke about PAP strategy in another video on Jalan Kayu SMC. Perhaps a show of force by sending in a sitting minister could sway votes their way. And this is 100% not a ploy to vote off another minister. I promise. So ultimately, it seems that no matter who you ask from the PAP, they're all saying that PM Lawrence Wong, who is Secretary General of the PAP, will ultimately decide where everyone gets filled. So ever since the PAP lost Sengkang GRC in GE 2020, Aljunied GRC has lost its status as the only GRC the PAP lost. So in a sense, voters in the constituency realised that the world did not collapse, even with more alternative voices in parliament. Even then, Aljunied has kept its status as the one that got away from the PAP. The PAP, depending on who they send, may come to know how much this would mean to voters in GE 2025. Alright, okay, that was all fun and games. But the point that I'm trying to make here is a serious one. I think journalists have a responsibility to be impartial. And while I absolutely recognize that it is impossible to be 100% bias-free, because every choice of what we report, the order that you report them, or even how long or what you show, all of these have implications on how the narrative is being told. But to put out a piece that is blatantly one-sided, I thought I had to do it some justice with this video. But anyways, I hope all of you have a great rest of the weekend, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. And I'll check in with all of you tomorrow in our Red Dot Perspective.